reinvent ourselves. We have a timeless gospel story, but we need to share it in a way that engages the contemporary culture. So from Purdy Brown to Cirque du Soleil. We use the circus. Purdy Brown revolutionized the circus. The circus, he created the big top, which enabled circuses to go anywhere, anytime, and not worry about weather elements. But he didn't continue to change with the times. We don't know of Purdy Brown anymore. But we do know Cirque du Soleil, which emerged bringing together new cultural forms of entertainment with the circus theme, and now it's thriving. So how can we as a church look at the cultural landscape and bring this timeless message and bring it in a new way that helps it thrive and not die away like Purdy Brown?
We started with sending in the clowns because clowns played this kind of dual purpose in the circus. It was one to distract from something that was going on over here and also to bring attention to something else. And so we were trying to both challenge ourselves not to be the distraction away from things that are not of God and to draw them towards things that are of God and of justice and of what it means to be a progressive Christian.
Why I think living in community and engaged as the body of Christ is so important. And the professor sat there, and when I finished, she said, I can't stand parish ministry. Because you know what? I don't care what color the drapes are. Her critique of us is that we engage in activities that distract us. We get so concerned with what color the drapes are that we forget about what's going on both within our community and beyond it. I have to tell you something. I don't care what color the drapes are either. But I do care passionately about how we talk about what color the drapes are. How we engage in relationships with each other, how we learn to be brothers and sisters with each other, so that when if we can make these simple decisions, we can then engage the bigger task at hand, which is the work we have to do in the world as the hands and feet of God. So my question is, are we acting as clowns? Are we distracting ourselves from the real task of the church? Are we looking at our world with eyes wide open, taking in both its horror and its glory, and offering a word of hope? Or are we engaged in distractions? Those things that pull us away from full engagement of the world as the body of Christ.
One of the things I think we have a hard time doing as progressive Christians, and that definition is broad, is actually receiving things, and receiving in a way that feeds the brokenness in our soul, that feeds us in a way that moves us to a place of new life and really living into the resurrection that we believe in. So I'm going to pass you a couple of baskets around, and during this time, we're just going to move into the next section, but as these baskets are coming around, there are pieces of paper in there that are just words. And go through them as the blank ones you want to write yourself, but find a word that strikes you. and take it. And your offering is to be able to actually receive it. So you don't have to put anything in, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's offering, you're going to move on the wall. No, I actually want you to take something out. Find a word that's in there that may strike you. You're not going to talk about it with anyone. We're not going to process it. You're just going to receive it.
By this time tomorrow, 10 churches will close their door for the last time. 1 in 3 adults are unchurched. We call that the nuns, right? They're the people who, when it's, what is your religious preference? Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, none. But there's a new movement, and it's called the Duns. These are people who look at what the church is doing or not doing and say, I quit. You're not talking about what's important to my life, to my family's life, to what I see going on in the world. You're distracting yourself. And so I quit. So we've got our work cut out for us as progressive Christians, because I believe that there's a world that really wants, that yearns for the word of hope that we have to offer it. But we've got to equip ourselves to do it better.
How many of you have ever done a demographic study for anything? What can it tell us about ourselves and our perceptions about who is in this community and who we could be reaching, talking to, connecting with? Who do you think is in Santa Cruz? I'm going to say 2-mile radius around this address. Just pop them out. Tell me who's in the area. College students, white people, retired people, surfers, Latinos, homeless, wealthy, black, food insecure. You have access to what's called Mission Insight. Mission Insight is by Tom Bandy. Some of you know Tom Bandy greatly, right? They have combined both survey and research, combined with the most extensive religious and spirituality survey that's ever been done. And what they've done is they've created all of these ways of looking at your community that are helpful to churches as they think about who they're going to be. Some of this is to be able to say, oh, we actually can't reach that group. Some of it is we can, but it's a reality check for everyone. So I did 2 miles. You're not going to be able to see all this, obviously. I did a 2-mile radius around this particular church. The millennials are starting to grow. That's this blue one here. They're starting to grow, get higher percentage-wise in your area, right? So, which is not too much of a surprise, but it's not getting older. It's actually going to get younger as it goes on, because there are going to be more folks living in the area. This is projecting out that your percentage is going to be higher white, which I thought was the 2-mile radius. Now we're keeping a 2-mile radius of this place, right? Well, I don't know how many of you go down to the municipal and look at the way that your city's laid out. But it's by blockage, and you can draw along, so you can do it by school, by road, and you can figure out all of the things that are going on. I trust me, there's somebody in your congregation that loves that stuff. Some of you here, maybe not so much. Clustering is happening in this area, right? Clustering is happening across the U.S., where folks who follow affinity to each other are gathering closer and closer together. It's a wealthier community than the rest of California. So this area is very high educated. This is doctoral degree. This is probably not surprising for a 2-mile radius from the church, right? Makes sense. Religiosity. Conservative evangelical Christians within the study area, 29%, right? 36% California. Consider myself a spiritual person, 50%, right? So your highest, that's not surprising at all. Beliefs in God, right? So some of the descriptors are, compared to the national average, do you believe in God? Very, very non-traditional beliefs in God in this area. Not surprising. Beliefs about Jesus, mixed. Beliefs about social and moral issues, very progressive. Presence of nuns, very high. Right? Not surprising, right? Those aren't surprising things. But it strikes me for progressive churches in areas like this that they're not big and full. Right? Now, that doesn't mean that churches have to be be big and full. But it does strike me, so why are churches that would fit all of these things, aren't they drawing folks who believe these things? Or they don't go to the church in the way that we think about church. As a church planner, I'm like, what? Right? A progressive church planner? Why? What's going on in this area as you're thinking about what you're going to be for the church later, and how folks are going to be engaged with what you do. And I'm not a person that's like, you just go grow churches because you're supposed to grow them. But if we believe what we believe in this room is true and is the better version of the gospel that exists in other places, then we should be able to figure out how to share it in a way that people actually hear it. These conferences don't do any good if you don't come away with some kind of thinking that changes how you might do stuff. Here's some questions for you. Can we throw, these are yes-no questions, but I think they're important.